Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're tackling willpower. We're going to be looking at that video, Psychologist Explains, How to Build Self-Discipline and Achieve Your Goals. You know, that one from the Little Bit Better YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one. It uses all these insights from Kelly McDonable's book, The Willpower Instinct, right?
Exactly. It's like packed with research-backed tips, from a Stanford psychologist. So we're going to break it all down and see how our brains kind of mess with us when it comes to willpower.
Yeah, it's amazing how they made all that, psychology stuff easy to understand.
Right. It's like a guide to figuring out why our good intentions sometimes just disappear.
Totally.
Okay, so let's jump in. Like, how about those times we go for those instant rewards even when we know they're not good for us long term?
Oh, that's the reward system they talk about. Think about going on a huge shopping spree. It feels awesome right then, but then the credit card bill hits.
Oof. Yeah, that feeling fades fast.
Exactly. Our brains love that immediate reward, but struggle to grasp at the consequences.
Makes me think of those times I've eaten a whole chocolate cake, even though I only meant to have one slice. Not a great feeling.
Haha, yeah. The video makes it clear that wanting instant gratification is strong, so we need to be aware of the consequences of our choices, in the long run.
Right. And they mentioned a study where only 16% of people who eat to reduce stress actually felt any relief. So are those quick fixes really worth it?
It makes you think, huh?
For sure. Okay, this next concept really blew my mind. Moral licensing. Like when we think, I did something good, so now I deserve a treat, even if that treat isn't good for us.
Oh, I know that one. It's like, I worked out, so an extra glass of wine is fine. But the logic doesn't really work.
Our brains are tricky negotiators. The video suggests finding other ways to celebrate successes that support our goals. Like instead of ice cream after a workout, maybe a relaxing bath.
Right. Focusing on the bigger picture, what are some of those moral licensing traps you've fallen into?
Ooh, let's see. I've definitely skipped my evening workout because I have a really productive workday.
I feel that.
Recognizing those patterns is huge. Okay, next up, the what the hell effect. You slip up once on your diet, suddenly it's a joke food free-for-all. We've all been there.
It's like, well, I already messed up. Might as well go all out. But the key is to shift from self-sabotage to self-forgiveness.
Right. Acknowledge the slip-up, move on, and get back on track.
Exactly. The video had good tip. Instead of saying, I ruined my diet today, say, okay, lunch was a slip-up. Back on track for dinner.
I like that. It's about remembering one mistake doesn't define the whole journey.
And this all ties into making choices for our future selves. The video calls it future you versus present you. Like we procrastinate thinking future us will magically have more willpower.
Yeah, like passing the buck to some other version of ourselves. But future you is still you.
Right, so we need to make choices that benefit our future selves now.
So instead of I'll eat healthy tomorrow, we should be prepping healthy lunches today. Or instead of putting off that doctor's appointment, schedule it now.
They also talk about setting up automatic savings transfers, tackling that task you've been avoiding. Small steps, big difference in the long run.
This all leads into something that really blew my mind. Willpower is a finite resource, like a muscle that gets tired. Explains why I struggle more with things at certain times.
It's a powerful concept, explains why too many demanding decisions can drain our willpower. The video even mentioned a study where smokers who resisted cigarettes were more likely to eat a ton of ice cream later.
Whoa, really? So resisting in one area weakens us in others?
Seems that way. We got to be strategic with our willpower, focus on the essential tasks.
That's mind-blowing. Okay, one more thing that caught my attention, contagious willpower. The video talks about how our social circles can actually affect our willpower.
I know, right? Sounds weird, but they talked about research showing that having an obese friend significantly increases your chances of also becoming obese.
Wow. So the people we're around can either help or hurt our willpower just by their own habits?
It's like willpower, both positive and negative, can be contagious. It really makes you think about who you spend your time with and how they might be influencing your own journey.
Yeah. Like that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Makes you think.
Totally. It really highlights how important it is to choose our environments and our social circles wisely. Surround ourselves with people who uplift and support us. It's not just about resisting temptations in a vacuum. It's about actively creating a world that nourishes our willpower. And it's not just who we hang out with. It's also about our internal environment.
Right, like how we talk to ourselves.
Exactly. That's where self-compassion comes in.
Ooh, that's a big one. Sometimes I feel like I'm way too hard on myself.
I get that. But the video talks about how beating ourselves up over mistakes actually makes it harder to build willpower.
So true. It's like when we're constantly criticizing ourselves, we just lose energy and motivation.
Right. Think about like how you'd support a friend who is struggling. You wouldn't yell at them for every little slip up. We need to be as kind to ourselves as we are to our
I
friends.
love that. Okay, so how do we actually practice self-compassion, especially when, I don't meet my own expectations?
The video talks about reframing our self-talk. Like instead of I'm such a failure, maybe try, okay, I made a choice that wasn't great, but what can I learn from it?
Turning those negative thoughts into something useful.
Exactly. It's about growth. And mindfulness can help too. When those negative thoughts pop up, just try to notice them without judging, like watching clouds passing by.
It's like the more you try to push a thought away, the more it sticks around.
Right, like trying not to think about a pink elephant. It's tough. The video suggests just letting those thoughts come and go without getting all tangled up in them.
It takes practice, but it sounds freeing.
It is, and all of this ties into, managing those moments before we give in to temptation. Pausing, planning.
Oh, that pause is so important. It's like hitting the brakes before we do something we might regret.
Exactly. Create space to make a conscious choice instead of just reacting. The video actually suggests a cool trick to help with that.
Oh, tell me.
They say to slow your breathing down to like 4 to 6 breaths per minute.
Really? That's it?
It helps shift your brain and body from like stressed and impulsive to calm and controlled.
Wow, the power of breath is like hitting the reset button.
And sometimes those impulses are coming from deeper needs that aren't being met. So the video encourages us to explore those needs and find better ways to address them.
So, like if you're stress eating, maybe figure out what's causing the stress and find healthier ways to cope.
Exactly. Get to the root of the problem. And sometimes that means getting creative, finding new ways to take care of ourselves. This whole deep dive is making me realize how connected our physical and mental well-being really are.
Totally. The video talks about that too. Like, taking care of our bodies is essential for building willpower. Sleep, exercise, healthy food, they're all crucial.
It's like we're making deposits into our willpower bank account. The more we invest in our health, the more we have to draw on later.
I love that. And it doesn't have to be huge changes, right? Just small, consistent efforts.
Exactly. The video actually warns against trying to change everything at once.
Makes sense. It's like training for a marathon. You wouldn't start by running 26 miles.
Right. Start small, gradually build up. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk each day, or 5 minutes of medication, or swapping a sugary snack for a piece of fruit.
It's all about those little wins.
And consistency. Celebrate those small victories.
This deep dive has been so eye-opening. It's given me a whole new perspective on willpower and so many practical tips.
Me too. I think the biggest takeaway for me is self-awareness. Understanding our own triggers, patterns, and tendencies is key.
Totally. And realizing there's no one-size-fits-all approach. We all have to find what works for us.
And remember that, everyone struggles with willpower sometimes. It's part of being human.
So true. It's easy to feel alone, but this conversation really highlights that these challenges are universal. We're all in this together.
Right. Sharing our experiences and supporting each other can make a huge difference.
Speaking of support, the video also talked about the power of community, right? Surrounding ourselves with people who share our values and goals.
It's like tapping into that contagious willpower idea. When we're around people who are committed to growth, their energy can really inspire us.
Before we move on to the last part of our deep dive, I wanted to touch on something else the video emphasized. Balance. It's not about living a life of deprivation or constantly denying ourselves pleasure.
Yeah. Willpower isn't about being a robot. It's about finding a sustainable approach, enjoying life, while still making choices that align with our goals.
Finding that sweet spot between instant gratification and long-term fulfillment.
Right. You deserve to feel happy and fulfilled now while working towards an even brighter future.
It's funny, right? We think of willpower as like all in our heads, but the video talks about how important our physical state is too.
Totally. They even say that just moving your body can help, get that willpower back up.
Yep. They said even 5 minutes of exercise can help. And it doesn't have to be like crazy intense.
Which is great to hear because some people get intimidated by exercise. It's not about becoming a gym rat, just getting moving a little.
Exactly. Small steps. And that reminds me of something else they talked about. Not trying to suppress thoughts, just letting them come and go.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like not getting into a wrestling match with our thoughts, just noticing them and letting them pass.
Right. Way more peaceful. And it goes back to that self-compassion idea, being kind to ourselves.
For sure. It's like creating a space where willpower can, thrive, a safe space.
Okay. And you know what else really stuck with me? That contagious willpower concept. Crazy to think our social circles can affect our willpower so much.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. Our connections with others really shape our behavior.
It makes you think twice about like who you're hanging out with. Their habits might be rubbing up on you.
Totally. Choose your company wisely, right? Surround yourself with good vibes.
As we wrap up, I'm thinking about how many practical tips this video gave. It's not just theory, it's like a whole toolkit.
Absolutely. It's empowering to realize we can actually do something to build our willpower. We're not stuck.
So any final thoughts for our listeners as they, start working on their own willpower?
Just remember, it's a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs. Be kind to yourself, celebrate those wins, and don't give up.
That's so inspiring. I think it sums up this whole deep dive perfectly. Willpower is about progress, not perfection. Showing up for ourselves day after day.
Exactly. And remembering, we don't have to do it alone. We've got this.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into willpower. We hope you found it helpful. Remember, even small changes can make a big difference.
Until next time, everyone, keep up that willpower training.